Audio now? Yeah, yay! Hey guys, welcome to YouthTube. A funny story. Did you know that if you go to go to Google and type in Cornerstone YouthTube, we're the top result. That's got to be good for something, right? Okay, I've got questions for y'all. You can hear me! Yay! I need to know some things. Write out in the comments, in your opinion, what's the worst scent? The worst scent. What is it? What's the worst scent? I'm curious to know. Please forgive me, I'm working on getting some technical issues figured out. Kids are the worst scent. I don't know if that was in reply, but that's really funny. I'll accept that. Cody says Gregory's a noob. Gregory says he likes things. It's the best. Okay, I'm still trying to figure out Lynn here. Trying to get everybody on board here. Well, let's just work our way through some of the slides here that let's see. Oh yeah, we'll do announcement-y things. We've got to know the rules, naturally. Okay, so the rules are a little bit different for YouthTube. Ordinarily, I would say put your phones away, put your devices away, or if you're going to use them responsibly. But tonight, I'm only going to encourage you to use them responsibly, seeing as devices are all that we can use to connect. So I'm going to ask that you keep the chat on topic tonight. So if you're asked a question, you can use that to reply, and you can go off topic a little bit, but try to keep it on topic tonight. Lynn is going to come and she's going to bring us a message. Now, if we cannot figure out technology, what we'll do is we'll actually just jump right over into Discord, and I'm going to get you all to mute yourselves, and we'll do the lesson time in Discord, but that's only if we can't get technology to be our friend here tonight. So I'm very hopeful, fingers are crossed, that we'll be able to get things figured out. But bear with us because this is all new, and try to get things figured out. So Discord, you guys, I'm not going to talk about Discord anymore. I will, however, talk about One Conference, because One Conference is on a day that is very late in May. However, it is also like right at the end of what Dr. Strang and the Premier have said would be the end of the 4-week lockdown thingy. So I'm not making any decisions about One Conference just yet, because I'm hoping, I'm praying, and I'm believing that we will be able to do something for One Conference, and I'd really like to be in person. So that's what I'm hoping and praying for, so we can do something for One Conference together. Now, at some point, I'm going to need you all to let me know if you're interested in coming, but we're going to wait weeks for that to actually happen. Again, just because we are in the middle of lockdown and we have no idea what's going to be actually happening. So There is the possibility that one conference could be postponed. And then I'll let you know as that happens. So that's that. Just reading that there. I'm going to do one more question. Okay. Let me know what your top 3 drinks would be. Like what pop, juice, chocolate milk, whatever. Write them down in the chat. Top 3 beverages. Okay? Top 3. Put them in the chat. Let me see them. Top 3. Top 3 beverages. Cream soda. That's good. I like cream soda. Bubbly is really good too. Yeah. Sparkling water, and Diet Pepsi. I brought tonight, we have, the Soda Stream things? Well, we got one of those last year at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I've carbonated quite a few things. But I'm a big sparkling water fan. So sparkling water fans, have you found that adding carbonation to your water makes it taste like salty? Anyone? Is that just me? I don't know why, but there's definitely a saltiness to it. Okay, let me transition here. We're gonna transition. Lynn is going to be up next. Ordinarily, we'd go to the llama song, but Lori is on her way to Quebec right now. So keep Lori in prayer. I'm sure she'd appreciate that. And yeah, we'll get started with the lesson.
Hey everyone, I'm upside down apparently. Not sure how I pulled that trick off, but anyways, if Stefan's good to go, I'm using my phone so I can see your chats. Wait a minute. Hey, look, you can read them now. So, can everyone hear me? I guess is the biggest thing. Yay, upside down Lynn. Hey, can you guys hear me though? I need to know if I'm actually talking to you. All right. So, guess what I'm waiting for? Guess what I'm counting down to? Oops, just a sec. I'm double checking my messages to see if you can hear me. That music makes it sound like I'm in a movie. What music? Maddie, thank you for answering my question. So now I'll continue and give you all brain strain because you're turned upside down. So, couple of housekeeping. When I ask some questions, I'm going to get you to write some answers in the chats, and our very capable other leaders, because I can't even see the chat window and talk and do what I need to do at the same time. They're going to respond, and then I'll look at the chat afterwards and see what you guys had to say. That being said, let's get started. So we're on week 4 of waitlisted. And we've been talking about waiting and waiting. And who knows what's in 241 days? That's a countdown. Be the first one in the chat to answer that. And then I'll get the leaders to tell me later. Here's a hint. Ho, ho, ho. Here's another hint. One of my favorite shows. Can you see? Oh, wait. At least I can. Nope. I think you can read it when I turn it upside down. Hopefully somebody got the right answer, and it's Christmas. Woohoo! Am I crazy? Yes, I am crazy. So maybe it's a little weird to start counting down to Christmas this early. So tell me, put in the chat box, when do you start counting down for Christmas? When do you start listening to Christmas music? Do you make any Christmas countdowns? I know Molly does. And when does your family start decorating? Tomorrow? 2 months before Christmas? The day before Christmas? We want to know. We want to hear from you. So, Stefan, let's do a poll. It's going to be the Christmas decorating process is a big part of anticipating and waiting for Christmas to arrive. From choosing a tree to decorating the tree, to hanging the Christmas lights, to baking Christmas cookies. Decorating for Christmas, I suppose, is to be funny. It's supposed to be a family memory. But let's be honest, sometimes it's torture. Like me seeing me upside down and right side up on the screen at the same time. Really hard on my mind. So here's the question. There may be a bit of a delay, but just answer the poll and Stefan will keep me up to date on what's going on. How much do you enjoy decorating for Christmas with your family? 1, do you love it? 2, it's boring and exhausting. Oh, I can hear myself. How do I fix that? No, Manecto. It usually ends in a big family fight. Hang on. Can you still hear me? Okay, great. There's no echo. Awesome. Thank you, Stefan. He's handling the tech side. So everybody say a big thank you to Stefan tonight. So when you're excitedly waiting for Christmas morning to arrive, the waiting can be painful. But do you know what's even more painful? Waiting while you're fighting with people you live with. And I'm sure you don't fight with your siblings or your parents, do you? Because you're awesome kids. But our conversation today isn't really about Christmas. But here's what it is about. It's about family. It's about fights. It's about waiting. It's about getting sick of waiting. And then just wanting to give up. Are you counting the days in the chat box? Right in. Are you counting the days until the end of something you want to end? Like school, a big project, or a punishment? If so, what is it? And let's not put COVID. We don't want to talk about COVID tonight. For the last few weeks, we've been talking a lot about waiting. And not just waiting for Christmas Day. We've talked about waiting during really, really difficult periods. We said, God has a plan, but you might have to wait for it. While you're waiting, God is faithful. While you're waiting, God is listening. But let's be honest, sometimes when we've been waiting and waiting, and waiting, we just get tired. Sometimes it feels like everyone is against us. Like we're trying so hard to hold something really heavy and no one is offering to help. Sometimes we just want to give up. I'm going to share a story about 2 years ago and a month. God was working on me. I'd had some things happen in my life. It was a lot of upset, chaos. But through that process, I was trying to figure out, well, who is Lynn? Like, who am I? Like, what does God want me to do? To a point of watching baptisms at a church that my son-in-law and daughter were attending at the time. And one of the things that really got my attention is this church did like 4 services of baptisms. And almost every service, the baptisms went on for about an hour. And so I broke down partway through one of these baptism services. They did their service, and then 30 minutes into the baptisms, I just broke down because I'm just like, this is what it's about. It's about coming to know Christ. It's about being, doing for him, serving him in whatever way he calls us. Like, you can't get any more excited than that. And so at that moment, I knew, because I had been thinking about it, that I was going to go into ministry. So at that point, I said to my husband, I know what I've got to do. I've got to go into ministry. It means I need to take courses. I can't do school, so I thought. It's too much work. So I thought, it is a lot of work, but it's well worth it. And what's happened through that is God, even though I thought, by summer I'm going to have some of the courses done, that would have only been a couple of months, guys, and I was working a full-time job. So here we go. We're thinking in my head that, okay, I'm going to work. I can handle this. I can do these courses. My husband was on board for the first time ever. He was on board too. How are we going to get this done? 2 years later, I started one course. I did not finish it yet because I knew I didn't have the time I needed to do it, to having self-doubts and believing I couldn't do it. I really didn't think God, what are you thinking? I can't do this. I can't do the school. I can't do it. To the point of, over the last 2 years, maybe I haven't done a course yet, but God was teaching me real life stuff. And that is also super important. I needed to learn how to do things. And God's used Stefan. He's used you guys to help me on my way and on my journey, so I can learn how to do things in ministry a little bit better and a little bit better. But was I waiting? I'm like, how can I do this? I'm never going to get this course. Super frustrated, super disappointed. To this January, I took a leadership course primarily for pastors. It was a new course that was introduced. My son-in-law, he was the one that introduced me to this course. And I thought, you know what? The way they were presenting, I thought I can do it. So I took this course. And what I found out through this course is they did things in little bite-sized snippets. So every day I did just a little bit, and I still had my job. And I still had my ministry that I was volunteering and doing. So I was still doing things. But what it showed me was I can learn. Something I didn't think I could do. I could learn because I was learning, and I was loving learning, to the point of I completed that course, and it got me excited because then I realized God is with me. I've just been going through steps, and it's not my time. It's not when God wants me to do, or not when I want me to do. Because I thought, I'm going to get to do this, and just, away I go. 2 years later, I'm like, I don't know where God's going to put me. I have no idea. But I have to trust on him. I have to wait. He knows, but he's been teaching me all along, and I didn't see it for a while. But now I'm starting to see some things, but I still don't have all the answers. And that's okay, because I know he's with me and he's going to help me through it. There are so many reasons why we might want to give up hope. I was close. But maybe you've been trying so hard, but nothing seems to change. You've tried to make wise choices, but the people around you don't seem to support you. Your family is a mess and doesn't seem to be getting better. Especially when we feel alone, unsupported, or even abandoned by others, it's not always easy to believe that we can keep going when we've already spent so much time doing what? Waiting. Here's a question for you. Have you ever wanted to give up, but you persevered instead? Put in the chat box, what helped you keep going? Today we're going to talk about someone in Scripture who understands this. His name is Joseph, and he's a pretty important figure in the Old Testament of the Bible. And I think I'm missing a page. Joseph's story begins when he's just 17 years old. He's a teenager, for Pete's sakes. 17. If you want a reference, it's Genesis 37, 2-11, but we're just going to summarize this particular passage. So Joseph was his dad's favorite son, and it was pretty obvious. Jacob loved Joseph so much that he gave him a special coat and special treatment. You can imagine how awkward that made things between Joseph and his brothers. To make things even more awkward, God began speaking to Joseph in dreams, letting Joseph know he would one day rule the nation. Can you imagine? The nation. He was going to rule over his brothers. Imagine how his brothers might be feeling. But instead of keeping this information to himself, what does Joseph do? He starts sharing it with his brothers. And that made things awkward. Instead of taking the hint that his brothers didn't appreciate being told that Joseph would one day be their boss, like, come on, Joseph continued telling his brothers about these visions from God. Of course, what happens? Things get more tense. Let's take a look into Genesis 37, 12-28. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them." "I'm ready to go," Joseph replied. "Go and see how your brothers and the flocks are getting along," Jacob said. "Then come back and bring me a report." So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from their home in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed him wandering around the countryside. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep?" "Yes," the man told him. "They have moved on from here, but I heard them say, 'Let's go on to Dothan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached them, they made plans to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But when Reuben heard of their schemes, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him." Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off that beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and they saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming towards them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? His blood would just give us a guilty conscience. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver. and the traders took him to Egypt. So when Joseph's brothers finally had enough of hearing Joseph talk about his awesomeness, they decided to what? Get rid of him. First, they planned to kill him. And then one of the brothers convinced them to spare his life and do what? Sell him into slavery. I guess that's an improvement from murder. But let's imagine this brother is but let's not imagine this brother is a hero or anything. Can you imagine what Joseph must have been experiencing when he realized how much his own family hated him? Well, he waited in that well. While he waited in that well, when he realized he'd be thrown into a foreign country where he knew no one, while he traveled on that caravan, waiting to find out where he'd end up and how he'd be treated when he arrived. That's enough uncertainty and loneliness to make most people give up hope. But that's not even the end of Joseph's misfortunes. When he arrived in Egypt, God gave Joseph a ton of incredible opportunities. Things probably seemed to be looking up for Joseph. Let's read Genesis 39, verses 1 to 20. When Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelite traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was a captain of the guard for Pharaoh and the king of Egypt. The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and he realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about a thing, except what kind of food to eat. Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man, and Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. But Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around when he went in to do his work. She came and grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, "Come on, sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand as he ran from the house. When she saw that she was holding his cloak and he had fled, she called out to her servants. Soon all the men came running. "Look," she said, "my husband has brought this Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He came into my room to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak behind with me." She kept the cloak with her until her husband came home. Then she told him her story. "That Hebrew slave you brought into our house tried to come in and fool around with me," she said. "But when I screamed, he ran out, leaving his cloak with me." Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held. And there he remained. Just when things were beginning to look up for Joseph, he faced a new set of difficulties. Can you imagine what Joseph must have been experiencing when he was being preyed on by powerful people, when he had no one, literally no one to turn to, when he was abandoned by the people he thought were his allies, when he realized he was going to be thrown in jail unjustly. Once again, that's enough to make most people give up hope. Let's do another poll. If you were Joseph, what would you do? A, give up. B, 2, punch someone. C, trust God. 4, I have no idea. And yes, I went A2, C4, just for fun. But this isn't even the end of Joseph's misfortunes. But let's see what he does next. So in Genesis 39, 20b to 23, I'll just briefly read that. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of, get this, but before long, the warden put Joseph in charge. Catch that? Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. So Joseph continued to live in that prison for years, forgotten by the Pharaoh and his own family. Joseph even had a chance to be freed, but his opportunity was lost when, once again, poor Joseph was forgotten. I won't tell you how the story ends for 2 reasons. 1, because you can read it for yourself in the book of Genesis. And because that's not the point of our conversation today. Today we're talking about what to do when you're sitting in the dark, waiting for help, looking for hope, uncertain about your future. When Joseph was in this position, he had every reason to give up and lose hope. But did he? No, he didn't. Even though everything seemed to be going wrong, and Joseph wasn't sure if he'd ever make it out of prison, or if God would ever fulfill that promise of making Joseph the ruler of a nation, Joseph knew God was still with him while he was waiting. God had a plan. God was faithful. And most importantly, God was listening. In all that time, God never gave up on Joseph. So Joseph never gave up on God. And if you're waiting on God right now, don't give up, because God's not giving up on you either. So now what does God want us to do about it? You might be thinking, this sounds good, but how? How do I not give up? How do I find hope when things feel hopeless? How do I hang on when I feel I'm all alone? Here are 5 ideas. The first one, just talk to God and don't stop. You can have a conversation with him anytime. Like we talked about last week, tell God how you feel and what you're experiencing. Then ask for help to hold on. You know he already knows how you feel. 2, talk to other people. Joseph may have been abandoned and alone, but you're not, even if you feel that way sometimes. On top of your friends and your family, this room is filled, and we're talking our chat room, is filled with people who you can talk to. If you're overwhelmed or feeling hopeless, let's talk about it. We're here to walk through it with you. Your youth leaders really care. Please don't hesitate to reach out, ever. Number 3, remember, God is stronger than you think. When Joseph was in that well, he never could have guessed the opportunities God would give him in Egypt. When he was in the prison, he had no idea what God had in store for his future. When he was betrayed by his brothers, he couldn't have anticipated the way God would one day restore their relationship. God did all of those things and more. And that's the same God who is telling you right now not to give up. You are stronger than you think. And number 4, remember, you are stronger than you think. You're stronger. Sorry, the first one was remember God is stronger. Number 3. Number 4 is remember you're stronger than you think. You made in the image of God. You're wonderfully created by a creator who designed you on purpose. You are strong, capable, and resilient. And when your strength fails, and it sometimes will, remember that in your weakness, God is strong on your behalf. And the last one, choose hope. Hope isn't just something that happens to us. In many ways, it's something we can choose. We can choose. We choose hope when it fills our minds with what's good and true. We choose hope when we choose to talk about our struggles rather than trying to handle them alone. We choose hope when we tell God how much we need help. And we choose hope when we decide not to give up. No matter what, God's got you. God has plans for you. Do not, no matter what, give up. So what are you waiting for? And how are you going to not give up? Will you talk to God? Will you talk to someone you trust? Will you remind yourself of God's strengths? Will you remind yourself of your strength? And hey, will you just choose hope? No matter how our situations are right now, we can all do something to choose hope. Trust and perseverance. Let's spend some time reflecting and deciding what our next step should be. In Discord, there is a song called You're Gonna Be Okay. And I'm going to put it in the Discord general chat after we're finished this evening. Please just take some time to listen to the song. I think the words will really mean something to you. And as we close out this series, I hope you found hope in the stories we've shared about the men and the women who waited on God. Week 1, we talked about Abraham and Sarah, and they remind us that God has a plan, but we might have to wait for it. Paul and Silas remind us that while we're waiting, God is faithful. David reminds us that while we're waiting, we can't give up because God's not giving up on us. And Joseph, he reminds us that while we're waiting, we can't give up because God's not giving up on us. Oh, sorry, I goofed. David reminds us that while we're waiting, God is listening. And then Joseph reminds us that while we're waiting, we can't give up because God is not giving up on us. So no matter what you're waiting for right now, keep going because God is not finished with you yet. God's not done with us. Stefan, would you like to pray for our group?
Thanks, Lynn, for that. Very good. Yeah, that was good. And I didn't even half mind that you were upside down the whole time. It didn't even matter. I'm going to pray for us all. God, thanks for tonight. Thanks for technology, and thanks for YouTube being what it is. God, tonight, Lord, I pray for these students who are watching. God, I pray that we would take the opportunity to talk to you and never stop. That we would talk to our friends, that we would trust that other people have our best interests in mind. Really trust that these youth leaders who are here really care about these students, and we want to help. And that we choose hope as we in a waiting period. We choose to hope and wait on you, God. I pray that you would provide grace and peace in the midst of all of our waiting. And God, as a lot of us start school tomorrow as pandemic classes begin, God, I pray for parents. I pray that you would give them grace and peace to be able to help these students get done what they need to get done. And God, I pray that these students would be able to apply themselves and have a great first day of pandemic school. And God, I pray for the students who have been homeschooling all along. God, continue to be with them, continue to bless their efforts, and continue to help them to learn and grow. God, we think of Lori. She's traveling out to Quebec. God, be with her. And I pray that this would be a safe and enjoyable journey for her. Here, get the last of her thing. And Lord, we thank you, and I ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out with us in the chat, in the YouthTube. If this works out well, and I think it has, I mean, aside from Lynn being upside down, which, I mean, most nights she does that anyways, I think it went all right. So we'll be back here next Wednesday, same place, same time, on the YouthTubes. We'll have music, bring your own snacks. I didn't even bring a snack. It was sad. And then we'll jump into the after party. The after party takes place in Discord, in the voice channels. You can hop over there and let us know anything that's going on in your life that you want specifically prayed for. You can put those in prayer requests. Everything is on Discord. You want to talk more about the lesson? We'll talk about it in the voice chat. If you want to talk about prayer requests, all those things can happen in Discord. If you're not a part of our Discord group yet and you want to be, let me know. And yeah, we'll get you hooked up. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure being here with you. Thank you, Lynn, for providing tonight's lesson. Thank you, Amy and Kristen, for being moderating ninjas tonight, taking care of a couple boys who keep posting things. We'll talk about that later. Join me over in Discord. I'll see you, and good night.